All right, so let's take a real quick look at the materials you'll need in order to mount these pucks to the back of the boxes and get you all set up. So the first thing you'll need is the template that came with your panniers and rack. Now if you've lost this, if you accidentally threw it into the garbage or something, don't fret. The position that you will need to know is approximately 86 millimeters up and 113 in from the edge. So if you don't have this, it's not a big deal. You could measure it and lay it out. So anyway, we've got a 1/8 inch bit, a 5/16 inch bit, and a 3/8 inch bit, 13 millimeter socket, 10 millimeter socket, socket wrench, blue thread locker. Do not skimp on this. You will have to have this on your bike. If you don't, it will not be safe. So make sure if you don't have this right now, go to the store and get it. Here's a file. We've got a something to measure with in millimeters. Actually, it doesn't even have to measure. You could use the back side of this if you had to. So just something sort of like this. And I think that's about it. All right, so the first thing I want to do here is I want to put a little bevel onto this. This is where it's going to ride up against the frame, and you're going to want to protect the powder coating on the frame somewhat. So this tends to, it'll scratch it up if you don't bother doing this part of it. So I usually just leave it in the puck and use my file and just kind of knock that down a little bit. And it's only the side that's going to be up against the frame that you need to worry about. Just knock that down a little bit. Your powder coating will thank you. So we'll go ahead and do both of these. And it just takes a second. You could actually probably use like sandpaper or maybe emery cloth or something like that to do this also. So now you are going to have to take these off of the puck, and so pay attention when you go to put it back on that you've got it oriented like this so that you get it on the correct side. All right, so good enough with that. Now I didn't mention that you're going to need a drill. I figured that was probably self-evident. I went ahead and got 2 drills set up and ready to go for this. Here's the template laid out on the box as you're going to need it. Doesn't matter which box you're working on. This is exactly how you're going to do it. It's going to be on the right hand end of the box. We've got the 45 facing down. This is the back of the box. The 45 is supposed to go to the outside of the bike. So this is definitely the back. People have screwed this up in the past. Do not become one of them. So I've got it lined up with the edge here and with the bottom. This shows me the first spot where the first puck is going to go on this box, and I'm going to go ahead and take the 1/8 inch bit, and I'm going to mark that spot. Actually, I'll go ahead and just mark it, and then I'll go ahead and just drill all the way through a pilot hole. Then I'm going to switch over to the 3/8, or excuse me, the 5/16. Next bit up. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll put the first puck on really quick and I'll come back to you. All right, so I've got the first puck mounted onto the box. You can see how this goes. It's got the washer on the inside. The bolt runs through into the puck and it's just sitting like this. You're going to have a couple of these screws also. We'll come back to that part in a moment. But for right now, we're going to move on to trying to get the second puck positioned correctly. Now this is where things can become kind of interesting. And so I'm going to show you how to get this on here accurately. We're going to go ahead and slip the frame up into this pocket, and that's really all you're trying to create here is a pocket for the frame to ride in. It's not really designed to clamp onto this, and we'll get back into that a little bit more when we go to use the thread locker. But anyway, I've got the 5/16 bit already sitting inside of this puck like so. Hopefully you guys can see that, and I'm going to show you how to go ahead and mark the position of the second puck. I should probably move over into frame a little bit. Here we go. So it doesn't really matter whether this is up or down. The main thing is that I want to show you how to get the frame on there nice and straight so that they'll ride properly on the bike and both sides will look uniform so that they'll both look the same. So looks like I'm at about right about there, about 41 millimeters to the rounded part of the box here. And I'm gonna want it to be about the same over here. And what I'm doing is basically I'm using my thumb kind of like a depth gauge to ensure that they both end up the same. So I've got my thumb up against the box and I'm marking exactly where it needs to be. Now I can take it down the box and I can see that I'm off a little bit. I can rotate the frame down. That's the same at both ends, and that's exactly what you're looking for. I've got the 5/16 bit already sticking out of the puck, and this is exactly how I want you to mark the second position of where the puck needs to ride. And all I'm gonna do is take and spin this bit. It's just gonna leave a little tiny mark, and that's all you need. You probably can't even see it on film. I'm sure you probably can't, but I can see it here, and that's exactly what I want. And it's all I really need. I'm going to use that as a pinpoint to drill out the second pilot hole. Make sure the bit doesn't walk on you. Pay attention to what you're doing as you're going along. Now I'm going to take the bit out of the puck. I'll put it into the drill. We'll go ahead and drill this out. I'll go ahead and get the second puck put on there and come back to you. All right, so one thing I probably should have mentioned in the last little clip there is that you want to pay attention to the orientation of the puck when you drill this, because sometimes the hole isn't exactly in the center, and so sometimes if you spin it, it'll change slightly. So now's a good time to check your accuracy. I'm right about there. I'm in exactly the same spot down here. If you find that your work didn't come out exactly the same, sometimes you can orient the pucks differently by changing them 180 out. It'll give you that little bit of movement that you need to ensure that it is exactly where it needs to be. So next thing we're going to do is mark where the knob hole goes, which is at the top of the frame. We're going to go back to our 1/8 inch bit to do that. Take a look here. Hopefully we're in frame. This is the hole I'm talking about. I've got my 1/8 inch drill bit in there, and I'm just going to try to locate the center of it manually. I'm going to look through it, get it in the center, and just drill a little pilot hole straight down and through. Make sure that you're all the way into the pocket with the frame when you do this. That bit was really sharp at some point. Okay, it looks like I did pretty well. I'm not perfectly in the center of it, but it doesn't really matter because this hole is actually going to be made to where it's actually larger than it needs to be to give you a little bit of wiggle room when you go to put the box onto the bike. And so we're going to go ahead and switch out to the 3/8 inch bit now, which is the biggest of the three. Put it into the drill. Go straight down through. Take your frame. Slide it up into the pocket. And you'll see that that's just perfectly oriented. And so the knob will go through from the inside or the Allen head hardware. So, perfect. All right, just a couple more steps and we'll be all done with this side of the box. So I've gone ahead and put the knob on, so this is actually secured to the box. The frame is attached to it. I've gone back to the 1/8 inch bit, and the next thing we're going to do is put these two screws in, which basically keep the puck in an orientation that's vertical so that it can't spin. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to eyeball, and what I'm looking for is to just aim for the very center here, and the same thing over here. We're going to drill all the way through the plastic, through the metal, and then these screws are going to come from the inside of the box out. Don't worry about this being sealed as far as being watertight. It's a really small drill bit, and when this threads in, it seals it up really nice, so no big deal. So I'll go ahead and do that part now. It is important to try to make sure that as you're drilling this, that you keep the drill somewhat vertical. You don't want to be going through at an angle. Try to make it nice and straight. So we'll go ahead and do the first one here so you can see how I do it. I'm just eyeballing it towards the center of that little pocket there. Maybe you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to go straight down through. This bit is so worn. And I'm losing my battery at the same time. Wonderful. Man, that is absolutely dull. I don't know what happened to this poor thing. Come on, you can do it! Ta-da! That one will be going in the garbage. All right, so now I'm going to swap over to my 8mm socket, and I'll go ahead and get this installed. I'll do the other one, and then I'll get back to you. All right, so here's the last step of the process. First, I'll show you really quick. Here's how this should look on the inside. Got all of this part of it done. I've tightened the bolts all the way to where they are exposed as much as to what they're possibly going to be. And you'll see that the frame does not want to slide into the pocket now. It's too tight. What I'm going to go ahead and do, and this part is important, is I'll apply my thread locker, and then I'm going to adjust the tension between this and the frame. And once again, you're not looking to clamp the frame. You're just looking to provide a pocket for it to ride in. So I'll go ahead and take my thread locker and apply it liberally around the threads. Get a bunch of it gooped up on there. And I'm going to go to the inside of the box. I'm going to loosen the bolts up a bit. And you can kind of push in on the bolt and it'll pop out of this pocket a little bit. Sometimes they get a little sticky in there. And so you just want to loosen it up a bit. Try to get the that metal fin to pop out. I'm pushing on the bolt to get it to pop out of the pocket. And so I got a little bit of play in it now. Move the box back onto its face there. And it slips up in there nice. Got a little bit too much play on this end. This end actually feels like it's pretty good. I'll go ahead and tighten this end that's got a little slop in it slightly. Actually, disregard that. I'm going to actually back the bolt out to get the thread locker into the threads, and then I'm going to come back into it and start to tighten it back up so that thread locker is actually allowed to do its job. So I'm going to loosen it up, and then I'm just beginning to start to tighten this, and it's almost like it's finger tight. It doesn't have to be cranked way down. I'm going to do that with both of them. I'm loosening to where the exposed part of the thread is going into the female part. I'm switching the wrench and going back in. When I get to where it feels like it's just barely finger tight, I'm going to stop and take a look at how this is. That's about right. The left one, Yeah, that's about it right there. That's about what you're looking for. Not super tight. I can see that the thread locker got down inside of the threads there, and that's perfect. Do not thread lock the top one. This is so that this basically acts as a knob, which will allow you to quick release the frame from the bike. So when that's threaded on there and the lid is locked on the box, you cannot remove the pannier. And that's about it right there, completed. Do the same thing for the other side, and happy riding.